brand new shooter has dropped, and this is Metal Hellsinger. Now, being a Metal Hellsinger myself, I had to get into this one, and I was super excited to dig in. And what I found was, well, a whole lot more complicated than I first expected. This is a first-person shooter. It's built kind of after the likes of Doom and sort of that really lightning-quick action, but the catch behind this one is that as you play, you can attack, you can dodge on beat, and when you do, that's when you affect real damage to your enemies. And not only that, there's a pumping metal track through each level. As you hit these notes on beat properly, you get stronger and stronger. Your multiplier, it just increases all the way up until you get a 16 times multiplier, the max, and a vocalist, a metal singer, if you will join into the background chorus. And that is something that got my heart pumping. Now, these are what I believe to be original tracks, but they do feature a lot of real-world musicians. A lot of vocalists from well-known metal bands have lent their voice to make this really impactful. And when you're running around at light speed and you can hear that metal pumping, it is quite powerful. You push through a certain level, these different circles of hell, and when you fall, you have the option of respawning. You can resurrect yourself twice or 3 times, depending on the difficulty. That can be quite frustrating, but at the same time, it has a little bit of a reward to it. If you start getting good and you feel like you're improving, you'll push through to the end, fight that boss fight, and then have a good feeling of victory afterwards. When you beat one circle of hell, it unlocks the next, and the next, and the next. You go through each of these, and they're a little bit of a palette swap. The environments aren't incredibly inventive, but they do the job of just kind of providing a canvas for you to decimate the enemies. I found the enemies were not incredibly inventive. As you go through the different circles of hell, you will meet different things along the way, but they're not terribly memorable. I found the visuals to leave a little bit to be desired. They don't look bad, certainly not bad, but it's kind of got a little bit of a cartoony coat of paint to it, where it's not hyper realistic, and that's okay, but it's a little bit more simplified than I would have preferred. There's not a huge amount of gore and that kind of thing like Doom has kind of conditioned me to enjoy, but it just kind of has a little bit of a lacking quality there. It does the job, but I found there's some framey issues as we go through the cutscenes. Sometimes it's just a little stuttery, and that can be an issue in game, but I've only so far seen it in the cutscenes, so that's a good thing. There's a little bit of framey issues here and there, but it doesn't affect the gameplay, and actually even if it does affect the gameplay, you can calibrate your audio and visual cues to compensate with that sort of delay, so you can get used to your control scheme, the television you're using, that kind of thing, to make sure you're not having an unfair time matching the beat. Judge's second aspect, just wait for us. Metal Hellsinger has been a very good ride for myself. I've really enjoyed this return to Doom-like gameplay. That lightning-fast speed matching a pumping soundtrack is something that really has me coming back for more. If you're a fan of Doom, Quake, maybe the Unreal tournaments of the past, you will be able to keep up with that speed, and when you make progress through the game, it's going to be a rewarding experience for you, for sure. The audio cues is, of course, the big pumping feature here, and the gameplay action does not let down. I wish there was a little bit more invention here, a little bit more creativity, but what you do get is just a pumping, really strong shooter, and I have to love that. Graphically, there's a little bit missing there, but it does the job, so it's really not taking away from the experience too much. And that little frame stutter wasn't really an issue for myself. I am on a Series X, and I hope that would handle any sort of game like this. It seems to do its job just fine. I had a great time with Metal Hellsinger. I'm going to be returning back to this one for a full achievement list. This is a game, I have to give this an 8 out of 10. There's not very much wrong with it at all, and what it does give you is something very satisfying.
Long time. Just getting madder.